Welcome to the Honest to Godcast, podcast dedicated to learning the truth, and the truth will set you free. I'm your host, Stephen B. Hello, I'm Stephen B., your host for the Honest to Godcast. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I want to give a shout out to our new subscribers, Joel. Appreciate you being here. And today's topic, I'm just going to get right to it. Today's topic is about typology. And what typology is a classification according to general types, especially in like archaeology, psychology, or the social sciences. For example, if you're an archaeologist and you go to a dig in uh, Siberia and you find a bone that's typical of Denisovian or Neanderthal or whatever, but that's all you find in that dig, then it's safe to assume that that particular bone belongs to Neanderthal or whatever it happens to be. There's also a linguistics component to typology. There's a field of linguistics that studies and classifies languages according to their structural features, such as phonemes and phonetic values, that kind of thing. What I like to do is, and I've been doing this for a while, it's the study and interpretation of types and symbols. Um, and so we'll get right to it. Uh, Kind of starting out on kind of a sad note at the moment. If you've been watching the news over the last couple of days, you know that there's uh, a submarine, a little submersible called the Titan that was going actually uh, to the wreck of the Titanic. And I don't know if they were just doing research or what, but there are five souls on this submarine called the Titan. And of course, we pray that for the best possible outcome in all of this. However, because of typology, my sense is that it's going to be futile. And the reason I say that, go back with me to 1898. There was a gentleman named Morgan Robertson. He wrote a book called Futility. And what the book is about is a British uh, luxury liner called the Titan that goes out into the North Atlantic, hits an iceberg, and of course sinks to the bottom of the ocean. It's a novel, but when you look at that novel, you have the name of the ship, the Titan, Titanic in reality, even the description of the ship in the book is so close to the actual Titanic that you can't just dismiss all of this as mere coincidence. Even some of the conversations that are portrayed in the novel, from what I understand, of course, I wasn't there, but going on historical records and things of that nature, um, those same conversations happen on the Titanic. One of the main ones, and I don't know if this is folklore or if it's the, honest to God truth, but I heard that there was a person who was coming on board the Titanic and um, asked the porter as they were boarding, is this ship safe? And I heard that the porter responded, Madam, not even God can sink this ship. I really wish he hadn't have said that. And so that's why, as of today, um, I heard that there was a limited amount of 24 hours, give or take, oxygen left on this submersible, and I know the Coast Guard is working very hard and trying to do that. But once again, my sense tells me it's going to be futile, just like this book, Futility. And that's kind of an example of typology. And you can use typology to go back into the past to understand history. And what is history? It's really his story, right? And you can also, with a pretty fair amount of accuracy, predict what's coming in the future. We're living in an age that is so profound, and things are winding up and coming together in such a way. I mean, we've had uh, the Nag Hammadi text, the Dead Sea Scrolls. We've had Miracle, the white buffalo, in the Native American legends, as a prophecy that has come true. Um, I need to do some more research, but there's that guy that young man uh, in Nepal who the BBC did an interview, well, kind of a documentary. They didn't really interview him, but he meditated and prayed and fasted under a tree, and they monitored him for like 10 months. And people are calling him, the return of Buddha. So even in the Buddhistic faith, things are winding up. And actually, I saw some video, and I'll put it up right here, where he, for whatever reason, burst into flames, and the flames consumed his clothing, but didn't hurt him at all. And so, this is an amazing time that we're living in. And in order to unravel what's happening, understand how it happened then, back in the day, and bring it on up to where we're at now, and to make a prediction, um, or a prophecy, if you wish, of what the future holds. Typology is kind of a key that unlocks those mysteries. Mystery comes from the word mysterion, which means initiation into a secret truth. And so we talked about the connection between the Titan in the story and the Titanic. Another one that I like to refer to is the assassination of John F. Kennedy and Abraham Lincoln. So Abraham Lincoln was in Ford's Theater, and he got shot in the head um, by John Wilkes Booth, who ran from the theater and went into a warehouse where he was captured there. John Wilkes Booth, of course, there's the three name connection, and the numerology of his name is exactly the same as Lee Harvey Oswald, and there's that three name connection again. And so he was in a warehouse, though, book depository, and he fled to a theater where they got him. And, there's so much here. Both those presidents had vice presidents named Johnson. Um, Abraham Lincoln had a secretary whose last name was Kennedy that begged him not to go to the theater and go see that play. And also, um, President Kennedy had someone on his staff, and I believe it was a secretary too, that begged him not to go to Dallas because she had the sense that something very bad would happen. And there's a lot more of those uh, what you would call coincidences, and in my understanding on how the universe is operating, and how it has been programmed to operate a certain way, I can't see coincidences in all of that. To me, it makes perfect sense that there would be typology. And so, how does that connect with spirituality? That's a really good place to start. And so, I'll start with a story in the Bible. Of course, this is going to be ubiquitous, and it doesn't have to be the Bible. We'll get into that in a minute. But the story of Joseph in the Bible, um, he is, just briefly, I'm going to paraphrase, but his story is that he was very spiritual, and he had visions, dreamed dreams, and he knew how to interpret dreams. He had 12 brothers, and one of his brothers, named Judah, sold him for 20 pieces of silver, and he was down in a pit for 3 days and 3 nights. And then, over a period of time, after he came out of that pit, and through the spiritual connections that he had, he was exalted up to the right hand of Pharaoh. No man could go to Pharaoh unless they went to him first. And we know that this is the true story because they've been doing digs in Avaris in Egypt, and Avaris is up on the Nile Delta there. But they found not just one, but 9 signet rings for Joseph. And so we know this story is true because of the archaeological connection. Um, so Joseph, he gets this coat of many colors, like a rainbow jacket or whatever that, his father gives him. And so when you look at the typology of that, what do we have? We have Jesus, and I'm going to use the name Jesus, even though I know it's Yeshua, and I don't want to, quibble about that point, at least not in this video. I just want to move forward with the types and the shadows and how they fulfill each other. And they not only predict each other, but they fulfill each other. And so we find Jesus, right? And he's born of a miraculous birth, just like Joseph. And in Revelation, we find Jesus with a rainbow over his shoulders, just like the coat of many colors. And he has 12 disciples, just like Joseph and his 12 brothers. And so Judas, the other rendering for Judah, sells him for 30 pieces of silver. And, metaphorically, after his crucifixion, metaphorically, he's down in a pit for 3 days and 3 nights. And then through the resurrection, he inherits the Godhead. And, so he gets exalted to the right hand of the Father, and no man can come to the Father except through him. Fantastic story, and you could see by the parallels there how typology helps you to understand that mystery, that mysterion, that initiation into a secret truth. But I don't want to be critical, but I do want to, expound on that a little bit, because it's not just about the mainstream Christian typology. 600 years before Jesus, we have Mithra, his birth is witnessed by shepherds. He performs miracles, walks on water, has 12 disciples, is resurrected after he dies. It's just like boom, boom, boom. And these are not just coincidences. It's typology. And so what happens is, that story, that thread of truth is replete through all of the different zodiacal ages. And so you can look at Osiris and see all the connections there, and different deities throughout history where the story's the same. The names and faces change, yeah, but it's the thread of truth. Now, I have heard, and this is in no way to be uh, combative, but Christian folks say, since Justin Martyr is the one that started this idea, that what was going on there with those other deities is that it was Satan running around running amok and imitating Jesus's life before he was even born. Man, listen to yourself. Oh man, um, it's that's lazy, because you need to do a little bit of your own research in this. And um, you know, I heard another explanation too, was that uh, that because of that, it proves that Jesus was a confabulation or plagiarism of all of those other deities. Best documentary that I've seen on that, believe it or not, is Zeitgeist, the first one, say roughly the first 15, 20 minutes. If you haven't seen it, it talks about religion, and they make these wonderful connections, astro-theomatical values, and it talks about the connection with all those other deities, the connection with the zodiacal, the closing of the age, lo, I am with you even unto the end of the age, and how going, or maybe we've already crossed that cusp into the age of Aquarius. Wonderful job. Anyway, it gets to the end of that segment, and then they throw up their hands and say, "Oh, well, that meant that Christ never existed." And I just know, for me anyway, I look at it as evidence of the truth. The truth is going. This thread of truth is marching through history and making an impact in some form, fashion, or another that connects to not just the historical, but actual, the eschatological things that can happen in the future. So my conclusion on all of this is that typology, for me, uh, it answers questions, about karma, for one. What it actually, I think it is, after studying it for, well, since 1970, is that um, the Godhead, the mastermind, the the God consciousness, the way the universe is programmed to act a certain way within the God consciousness, is having deja vu. And we, of course, all know what deja vu is like. And so, yeah, I think that the Godhead has had many deja vus, and we can see history is replete with them. And not just with the stories of Jesus and Mithra and Osiris and, Krishna, all of those stories that have commonalities. You can definitely see that through um, the black hats, I'll call them, because you can take the number 666 like a slide rule and run it up and down through history, and you can prove positively, and I mean positively, that the Antichrist has been Nero. Antiochus Epiphanes, Charlemagne, um, Napoleon, Hitler, um, you know, so, um, you could see this throughout history, and I think it will untangle a lot of uh, the bad theology that is out there, um, concerning our faith, and uh, there are other aspects to typology that, in the interest of being brief, I'm going to wait for future podcasts, because I'm working on uh, some of the mysteries, the mysterion, the initiations. So we want to talk about the mystery of the Godhead. We want to talk about the mystery of iniquity. All of those initiate-driven schools of Babylon that are out there as well. And so I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you all for your time. I appreciate you being here. Um, Please feel free to leave comments in the comment section. And for those of you who emailed and called uh, and whatnot, and were asking about the other video that I did on typology and why I took that down. Just to put it in the briefest of terms, is the folks that I did the interview with, and we just didn't see eye to eye on a couple of issues, and that's all it is. There's no animosity, or nothing spiteful or anything like that going on. It's just stuff we should have addressed before uh, that we did the interview, to begin with. And so I wish them well. I really do. I'll be, holding them up in prayer, for, uh, for the rest of my days, however long that is. And so, um, okay, well, that's it for today. Another announcement also. I'm going to be doing a documentary about Loretto Chapel. That's going to be coming in the future. For those of you that don't know, Loretto Chapel is in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and the story goes that they had to use ladders to get up into the balcony of this chapel, and this is a Catholic thing, and that's okay. But the nuns did their novenas, and I think it was like on the ninth day after their prayer and fasting. They were specifically praying for a carpenter, that would come and do the work and put a stairwell up in that chapel, and lo and behold, uh, guy rides up on a donkey, has a satchel of carpenter's tools, um, and the nuns, they were petitioning um, Saint Joseph, who is the patron saint of carpenters. And so anyway, the guy rides up, says, "Hi, my name's Joseph. I was wondering if you have some work for me." And they told him he could, that they needed a stairwell built, and he said, "Okay, under one condition: nobody watches me while I do it." And so they cordoned off the area, and he worked diligently. And at the end of it, there's this beautiful spiral staircase that defies the laws of physics in there, and it's almost as if it was like made out of one piece of wood. And to me, this is an awesome story. And so I'm going to go there shortly, and we're going to do a documentary on that. And so that's what's coming in the near future. Anyway, I appreciate you. Thank you all for your time.